Okay, so at this point, hopefully you've viewed the overview for the class, you've viewed your writing styles presentation, you've got your textbooks, and you are ready to rock and roll. So week one, what is art? What is visual culture? These are the topics we're going to be looking at this week. So again, I will post a video like this every week that will go into more detail about your assignments and what's going on. So here is our agenda. There will always be an agenda in your learning activities. So this is what your list will look like. You'll only be able to view one item at a time. In my instructor mode, I get to view everything at once, which is pretty neat. So we are going to be reading a lot this week. This week is about building up that background knowledge so that when you get to week 3 and 4 and we're writing our formal analysis, our theory application papers, you're going to feel really well equipped. So there's a lot of information in the first few weeks. Less work, more information. So make sure you really take the time to get through this stuff. So in your looking at art text, I want you to read chapters 1 and 2, the appeal of art and the aims of art. This is a really easy read, this text. It's big font, lots of pictures, so don't get overwhelmed. In your visual culture text, I want you to read the introduction, pages 1 through 8, and chapter 1, pages 1 through 34. So in that visual culture text, these are the things I want you to be looking for. What is a visual text? That I want you to really focus on that idea. The concept that visual texts, are read with the same rigor as written text. We need to be able to read as well as write visually, because if we don't, then we tend to be at the mercy of those who create it. So visual literacy is an active pursuit. It's always evolving and changing, isn't it? You should all know social media is constantly rapidly changing. You have to really stay with it to know what's in. Meme culture, GIF culture, all of these, they seem like silly things, but these are all things that we're going to be looking back at 10, 20 years and studying as these visual artifacts of this cultural moment. So the printed word really is a relatively new phenomenon, but images have been around for thousands of years. So in chapter 1, I want you to focus on the idea of content and how we look. So it's going to talk about how to look at a portrait versus landscape versus religious art, for example. Always look for what is not shown as well as what is shown. Ask yourself lots of questions in your head. I've given you a brief YouTube clip about the Arnolfini wedding portrait, which is a image in this chapter that they're going to use as an example for how to look. And then we really want to focus on this guy, Erwin Panofsky. He is going to be someone you're going to really learn to appreciate, because he gives us this awesome 3-level system of interpreting iconology. So really look at what he says on iconology, and I've even showed you that starts at about page 24 of this chapter. So he's going to talk about the primary, secondary, and third, or natural, conventional, and intrinsic levels of interpreting a work of art. So because this is so important, I've given you a mini lecture on Panofsky and these different levels. So make sure that you watch this, and you're going to want to watch this because this is, again, in that theory application paper, we're going to be walking through these 3 levels with 2 different artworks, and we're going to be comparing and contrasting them. I've given you another lecture. This one's about an hour long. It's called What is Art? It's from a really great resource called The Floating University, and it's just going to be this introduction of this idea of, what is art anyway? It's going to just make you start to ask questions. If you would prefer to read along opposed to just watch, because I try to engage you visual, oral, and read, write, and kinesthetic learners in multiple ways. So you can go ahead and download the transcript of this lecture if you'd like to read along with it. Totally up to you. There's a few questions on the quiz that are going to come from this lecture. Okay, your first assignment is a reflection. It's a journal entry. So again, these journals are, you get to say your opinion, what you want to say. There's no right or wrong answers here. I might kind of play devil's advocate and engage you sometimes on some of the points you're making, just because I want to make you think. But what is art to you? What is your experience with it thus far in your life? Is it something you really love and enjoy? Is it something that freaks you out, that you don't understand? Do you love it? Do you hate it? I just want to know where you're at this point. It helps me kind of take a thermometer reading of the class, to get your temperature for where everybody is. So I know how to communicate and kind of, massage things to really fit our group. So journal entries should be the equivalent of 1-page double-spaced 12-point font in a word processing program. That does not mean I want you to submit an attachment. What I prefer that you do is open up a Word document, write out your journal entry, make sure it's a page double-spaced, and then copy and paste it into the text editor, which looks like this. So if you go ahead and click on your journal, it's going to give you the prompt again. It's going to say it's empty because you haven't given any entries yet. You're going to hit Create Journal Entry. You'll give it a title. And then right here is where I'm saying you can just copy and paste right into here. Do not attach a file. The reason is because these are quick, informal assignments. I like to be able to read through them easily and not have to download everyone's individual journal entries for this. So it's a little bit for my convenience, I'm not going to lie. But that way, all your journals, when you go back through, they're all kind of in this easily accessed place as well. So again, no attachments, just copy and paste your entry right here. Sometimes it'll goof up the formatting a little bit. Don't worry about that. Students kind of tend to freak out. I couldn't get it double spaced, and as I'm just looking for the equivalent of a page double spaced. Just don't give me 4 sentences for these journal entries. I want more oomph than that. Okay, let's go back into our learning activities here. There we go. And I want you to begin work this week on your first create assignment, which we're calling our mini art cyclopedia. This assignment is not due until the end of week 2. However, I strongly suggest you begin it this week. Don't wait till next week to do all 20 terms. It's going to seem and sound easy, but once you really start looking and digging for these images, it's going to take a little bit of time. So as you do your reading this week, do 2 or 3 a night, and you'll have it done in no time. The time management, right? So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be pairing art terminology and concepts from the Looking at Art text with images that illustrate their meaning. So image examples must be from the 20th and 21st centuries only. No images from the 1600s, the 1700s. I want 1900 and forward. And that's because we're contemporary visual arts and culture. So that's the kind of artwork I want you to be engaging with here. Each image must be properly cited with the artist's name, title of the work, date created, the medium, and the source. And this, again, is in that writing styles presentation. It will tell you how to do that. So this is going to be done as a PowerPoint presentation. You're encouraged to use your own creativity to make it, your own. Again, done over the first 2 weeks of class. So you're going to give 1 term definition and 1 image example for each of the term below. 10 terms each week, total of 20 terms. Each term definition should include 1 sentence of how your chosen image is an appropriate choice to illustrate this term. And I've given you an example here. So for example, this would be from week 1, decorating the environment, public spaces. So you can see that I've given a general definition. Public spaces are decorated with architectural projects, outdoor sculptures, signs and billboards, painted exterior walls, and other expressions of urban design. These spaces convey a certain image of the city. And guess what? I took that right out of the text. You are more than welcome to take your term definitions straight out of that Looking at Art textbook. I'm not expecting you to make up definitions for terms. I wouldn't expect you to make up a definition for a word in the dictionary. So why would I expect you here? So define the term generally, but then this is the part students sometimes forget. I've given an example of why the image I've used is a good example of this term. So Disney Hall, for example, which is in downtown LA, and if you haven't been, I highly encourage you. It's an amazing structure. Disney Hall, for example, tells the viewer that Los Angeles is on the cutting edge of architectural design, promoting an environment of creativity and progress. So I've told you why Disney Hall is a good example of decorating the environment, public spaces, okay? Then I've given our citation information here. Please excuse the sound of dogs barking. That will happen throughout the next 8 weeks. I've got 2 of them, and they like to announce whenever somebody walks by or there's a squirrel outside or a bird or a truck or whatever it might be. So a little bit of barking here and there is just going to be part of the experience. Okay, so that is your mini art cyclopedia. If you have questions about this, please do not hesitate to ask me. I am here to help. And last but not least, you have your review quiz. Again, you have 1 attempt to take the quiz, but you have as much time as you need. There's no time limit on that. It just has to be done in 1 sitting, and it is due no later than Sunday at midnight. So quiz, start your mini art cyclopedia, get through that first set of terms. I'm more than happy to take a look at an example if you want to make sure you're on the right track. Give me your reflection. So about a page of, where you are with art in your life at this point. We've got some lecture material and reading, and that's going to really set us up for a good start for this class. So questions, let me know. Really get into it, open up your mind, get outside that box, and just have fun with this. Have a great week, everyone.